question. That's been a topic also, and obviously they're too high on both accounts. I think, again, going back to the situation that we've been talking about all evening, the incorporation of trying to get the 7th and 8th graders to an institution where they can engage in things other than just academics, as in vocational classes, and hopefully hold their interest in that. I know there's some concern with that as far as interaction. I was there in 1983. We had the old Greenbank School was right beside us. There was no issues with interaction. Of course, I realize this is 2016 also. So with that being said, I think right now we're holding our students at a very, very high expectation with 28 credits to graduate. I think the possibility of changing that to the core of maybe 24, make it more achievable, I think we can do that. But I also think that the teachers at the high school, they're inheriting a problem. I think they're inheriting children that have already made up their mind by the time they get to the 9th grade that they're done. And hopefully that's one of the main driving forces in trying to incorporate those next 2 grade levels down into something other than just academics, where we're obviously losing their attention. I don't think you can lay a finger on the teachers for a failure at that point. I agree with Sam. I think it's certainly an issue that's going on in society, and but simply sitting on the Board of Education, you can't change society. You can simply change what's under your roof, and perhaps making a difference on what is going on at the board office. So certainly a priority at this time, and I'm sure obviously if I'm elected, it'll maintain as a priority going into the next 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Alderman?
We essentially, in my opinion, essentially have abandoned vocational education. We used to have a really great welding program. We used to have a really great nursing program. And these were things that were designed to interest our children. And nowadays I look around and I see students who are working in the nursing industry, and people who are working as welders. I think that if you get something interesting in the vocational field, that you will have much more interest, and people will want to go to school.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson?
What was the question again, please?
The dropout and failure to graduate rates in the Pocahontas County schools are very poor. Do you have any suggestion on how to improve on them?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I think that the Board of Education should be an ambassador for education. I know it sounds kind of redundant, but the teachers know who these at-risk students are, right? When it gets close to graduation time, or these teachers, the school staff knows who the at-risk kids are for dropout. We need to develop and that's something I would like to do, is to reach out to these families, to these kids, go to their house, talk to their families, and say, maybe take Mr. Beam, and the brass, and say, what can we do to get you back in school? How can we re-engage you? What do you need for us to get back in school? And I think, if we just went and talked to these kids and said, please come back, and tried to explain their desolate position they'll be in if they do drop out, and reach and try and work with them and get them back in there, that's what I want to do. And I think that it should be up to the board members. Our teachers, they're busy at school. They've got 20 some other kids in every class they have to deal with. Our principal has got a whole school of kids to deal with. I think, and I think that's one improvement that the Board of Education could do, is they could work with schools, the kids and their families a lot more, and try and get them engaged, and try and get them back on track. And that's what I would like to do.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan?
Well, I believe we need to continue to work to keep school children's interest, because the vocational programs is very important. It'd be nice if we could go back to 7th and 8th grades we do have a nursing home in this county and a real good little hospital. We need to, if it's nurse aid training, we need to also keep our cooking classes and get where the children can work at the restaurants, the snowshoe and other areas. We need to have culinary skill, but we also need to have people skills. And we need to work to provide a better environment. At the present time, a student can they feel a GED is as good as a high school diploma, and it is not in comparison to what an actual high school diploma is. And it's been promoted as a way to go. Well, it's a far this easy way out for children. Well, so and so took a GED, we're going to just quit when we get old now. And we have a problem at school with kids just leaving, not letting the principal know or anything, and just walking out. Attendance is hurting our graduation rate. We have to keep these children in school and keep them happy. And when it starts like this, all starts at a young level. But we need to work better with the students, because the high schoolers, you can say what you want when they talk to their parents. This primarily, they make a lot of their decisions on their own. We need to communicate with them more on a personal level instead of, the parents are a great support team, but they make many decisions on their own, and we need to work to make a happier environment where they will stay in school. And I think athletics, clubs, or FFA, various organizations in the school. My daughter's in SBLA. I think there's a lot of things can make the goals make them happier. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vance?
That is a high priority to me, and I was talking about this last night at the thing, is the dropout rate. I don't have my paper with me now, but we had 92 freshmen 3 years ago, and we got this year, it's our senior class, and there's 52 graduating. That is just uncalled for. I think that there's problems, and something needs to be worked out, and need to get some of these kids back in school. And I totally agree with the vocational. There used to be a nursing class at the high school when I was there. There's cooking class there. There's BOE, carpentry, forestry, and welding and electric. You get these kids interested in that stuff and work with it. There's also electronics at school. I think it's still going. And that's what the future is right there, is electronics and cooking. And you know, the other skills, vocational is very, very important to the schools, but the dropout rate is very, very terrible, and you need to talk to these kids and see what's going on. And the way I understand it, it's a lot of bullying. Kids are getting tired of getting bullied, and they just don't want to put up with it. You know, it needs to come to a halt. We need to take up for the kids. You know, I don't care what sport they're in. If they're getting bullied by some of the sport people, it needs to quit. You need to stand up for these people, because the bullying's got to quit. You got to keep these kids in school. I've got 2 kids in school. One of them's graduated. One of them graduates here in another year. And you know, she's talking about dropping out, and she gets tired of it. But she finally came out and told us what was going on, so we just addressed the problem. And you know, I think, you know, that's what the guidance counselor's for, is to, you know, if somebody's getting in trouble in school, need help, go ask for help. Give his children help to keep them in school. You know, I want to see a lot of kids graduate. If we start with 100 freshmen, it should be 100 graduating. And I'm totally, you know, thank you.